What's up, guys? Welcome to Transparent. I lived a lonely and suicidal childhood, subject to bullying, racism, and body shaming. This upbringing led me to do anything I could in my power to try to become a better man, even at the cost of my own health. Had there been something that I wish I had, that would be a community, a friend, and to truly see that I wasn't alone. Had there been something that I wish I had known, it would be that true happiness comes not from the validation of others, but from the validation of self. This podcast isn't intended to promote the use of substances such as PEDs, but to open up with guests about our experiences and in all aspects truly see that we aren't alone. We are in this roller coaster of life together.
Straight?
Fuck yeah. You ready to listen to yourself?
I don't know about all that, but we'll do a podcast.
All right, let's put these on. Oh yeah.
Man, that's HD. That's crazy.
Sounds juicy, huh?
It does, man.
It's like,
I can see why people eat.
no, yeah, why people eat, right, bro? That's why, yeah. That last podcast feeling, the guy goes like ASMR.
Yeah, I saw
because he's just listening to his own voice.
Yeah. For real. Hold on.
Yeah, I always want to take my headphones off because I'm like, it feels more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Want to show off the earrings.
Oh, you got the cross.
The fucking drips and shit. But
yeah, you got the cross peeking out. Yeah.
But it's too nice. It's like for the first time, I finally like the sound of my voice.
Honestly, yeah. Because we were talking before while we were getting set up, like starting YouTube and stuff, and you mentioned editing. So I think that's a good place to start. Is like when you have to edit your voice for the first time. I can see why that's a lot of people's last time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because you're hearing yourself for the first time. You're like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this. You know, because that's a big thing. I feel like, because for me, I was like, I noticed it right off the bat, and I've heard other people say like, oh no, like I can't listen to my own voice, and it's really not. I feel like a lot of it's in your head. You know, I mean, some of it can be your delivery and your cadence, like those things you can practice, but I mean, the sound of your voice, like it's only going to change so much.
No, yeah.
You know? So I think it's just something you get used to. But hearing it like this is.
I also feel like it's a weird thing for people where it's like for some reason we all like we feel we sound different in our own heads when we speak, but then when we hear ourselves over the camera or whatever, we're just like, ew. Yeah. Is that what I fucking sound like?
Yeah. I agree.
And then you just don't want to like watch yourself ever again.
Right. No, I feel that. Man, even still, like I used to edit for a period of time, like a good 2 years or so, my own videos. And I think it was the constant, like playing back the same words when I'm editing, trying to find the right place to cut and, you know, how to tie it to the video or whatever. Like that got me more sick of my voice than now working with editors and then going through like a video review and kind of watching, you know, just watching the video and not having to replay very much on it. I think that made me go, okay, it's not as bad, but like when you have to see something over and over and over, then I feel like I was picking myself apart more. But it, you know, it's natural. It's like you're editing it, so you're trying to be as precise as you can, but then you get in your own head. Yeah.
It's easy to get in your own head when you're like editing your own shit and you're like working on your own shit, for sure. Whenever it's like you, I think it's just so easy to be biased. I feel like that's why it's necessary that if you're working on social media or doing anything like that, it's like almost necessary to have like a team, some sort of team. Yeah. Some sort of like people to like put their brains together, help you out.
100%. I think you just naturally go further that way. You get more ideas shared, and then the workload, like you were mentioning earlier, it's like you get caught up, like spending all your time learning skills that are useful, but more like technical skills, like, you know, how to set ISO on a camera and, you know, how to import or export this file at this kind of resolution. And, you know, all those are good skills. But if most of your time learning is spent learning those things, you lose out on some higher level things that are more about that, like what's inside of the actual content that you're trying to record, you know, whether it's, you know, new training styles or, you know, things for nutrition. It's like you're caught in just the production, like learning how to make the production better versus also learning how to make, you know, what you're actually producing better. So then when you bring on that team, it's like, okay, you guys got this, like someone's passionate about, like I work with Mike, he's passionate about, you know, ISO and histograms. I don't really care as long as the video is crispy enough. You know what I mean? But I appreciate that a lot because he's someone that, okay, he's gonna take care of that, and then I can just use that energy to focus on, all right, what do I want to actually get across in this video? You know, not just the fact that the lighting's just right. You know.
yeah.
That's where it's at.
Dude, it's the power of overthinking, bro. 100%. It's so easy. It's like, it's hard for us to know what, like, where the balance lies. Like, where do I start overthinking? And I think something that I've learned from a lot of other podcasts has been, let's put this more towards me like that. Yeah. Okay. Is that, the moment you, surpass that point of, like, how are you getting your word out in the easiest possible way? Like, how are you getting what you're trying to translate in the most forward directional way that you're trying to communicate? Then you're starting to overthink. So, like, there was one, I can't quite remember the podcast. Man, it was really, man, I wish I remembered the exact podcast. I don't even think it was Raw Talk with Bradley Martin. It might have been Modern Wisdom with Chris Williamson. And then there's this one dude that's blowing up, but whatever. Anyways, basically they said that a lot of people are trying to get that 100%. They're trying to get that perfect 100% before they shoot out their content. But they don't realize that by getting from 93 to 100%, you're spending the exact same amount of time that you spent from getting to 0 to 93%.
That's a great
And all
point.
you really need to do is get to that 93, 95%. And once you're there and you've worked as hard as you can, shoot it out, go on to the next piece of content. Because at that point in your time, you're now starting to use time for the next 93% for that 7% that you want to.
That's a great, and in that analogy or that breakdown, you'd be doing double the work for everything.
Yeah.
Because then, like you said, if it's half the time, well, then that next half the time is on the next project. That's a good point. And I feel like too, naturally, that, let's say, is that 95% you get it to, and then you put it out. I think that 95% improves each time because you use the last projects as reference points for, okay, I went to 95%, but I could have done this a little better. So it's not necessarily like you're trying to hit, like you're aiming for 100, but it's not like you get 95 and then you get stuck again. It's like, all right, within that 95, I can improve on this. So that 95 becomes, like a little, it progresses, it evolves, I feel like, versus, not, like you said, 95, and then you're a perfectionist about the last 5-10%. And then you would have, like in that analogy, you'd have to go back essentially and do the same amount of work again to get it to whatever your 100 is. That's stressful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And just not time efficient at all. And unfortunately, when it comes to, careers like ours, time is money. It's our greatest value. It's our greatest currency. But anyways, real quick before we move on, ladies and gents.
Oh man,
yeah,
that's tough. I didn't know you have the little.
Oh yeah, transparent baby. We are here with my boy, my friend, JustMerk, Merk Fitness.
Yes, sir. I guess there's a few names.
yeah. My guy who has been in the industry for a minute now.
It has been a minute,
dude. You've been on YouTube for like what, 6 years, right?
Let me think.
6-7 years or something.
So I was just
long ass time
putting together some merchandise, and it says established, like the date I started the channel, established March 2017.
March 2017.
2017, yeah. So it's 2022 now. So it's been a little over 5 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's a long time.
I was a different human when I started.
yeah, you were, dude.
Yeah.
You're a much smaller human too.
damn straight.
Dude, damn, that's crazy. You get a lot of size, dude. A lot of size in the last 5 years.
Thanks.
Especially in this last year alone, honestly.
Yeah, I think
so.
A lot of it was finally breaking away from, and not that I had to, because I was happy with my look. Like I was a lot more peeled all the time. I was a lot more tight on my calories, tight on my carbs. I'm talking for years. Like when I started out, my knowledge of nutrition was so minimal. I was like, all right, if I want to get shredded, when, you know, I'm 130 pounds at the time, whatever. I'm thinking about getting shredded when I needed to just build. But I was like, you know, I was eating a granola bar for breakfast, a chicken salad for lunch, and then maybe another granola bar before I went to train. I would get headaches in the gym.
Yeah, because you're like, dude, you got to stay as dry as possible before you shoot that shit, right?
Yeah, this is
shoot that content.
This is the back at the end of high school. So this is before I started shooting anything. But I was just like, oh, like I want to be lean, shredded, so let me eat salads and lean cuisines. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it definitely, you evolve with it for sure. But yeah, in the last year or two, I think what helps too is like really properly bulking, actually getting, you know, consistent nutrition that's over my maintenance. And then, you know, I was able to cut down and then see, okay, this is how much I grew because I bulked and when I cut. And then, you know, competing kind of ties into that because you're cutting for a show. And then you get that nice refeed period after a show and kind of add on some size steadily. So I felt like those periods really helped to grow me just in the last like year and a half or so.
Gotcha. I do believe the growth periods are, I think people underestimate just how important it is to have an actual growth phase. And I realize that now, you know, because you and I have been in a similar position in terms of our body fat percentage and our fitness journey in the last several years, bro. That's why I'm laughing so much whenever you talk about that shit. I'm like, dude, I'm just remembering those days where I'd wake up and I'm like, okay, gotta stay dry for the photo shoot in like 3 hours. So I'm just gonna eat basically nothing, no salt whatsoever, no carbs because I don't want to look any more bloated. And I just come into the workout and the gym workout and be like, this is the shittiest workout of my life.
Bro, you just made me
like you're trying to like work out hard for like, you know, the content and stuff. Like you normally have a good workout, but it's like the worst fucking workout you had all week.
Yeah, because the pump is terrible.
Yeah, no pump.
You get, it's more of like a blood vessel you get going here. That's really it. You know, I remember the same thing. Like when I was in, it's kind of earlier on when I was first doing YouTube, this would be for the photos I did for Instagram. I don't think I was advanced enough to manipulate my salt. No, I was, because I would, you know what I would do? I'd go to like Five Guys and eat. Like the morning I was going to shoot some photos. Like say I'm shooting photos later in the day. Go to Five Guys, get like a burger. But make sure I get like a medium fry with a good amount of salt on there, right? Just to get a pump with the salt, because I understood, all right, when I eat salt, I get pretty pumped, right? But I wouldn't drink any water. Like the night before, I'm not playing the night before. If you ever run into my friend Dom, you can ask him because he was the one who helped me with a lot of these photos. Man, I would just stop drinking water. And the dudes in med school, he's like, listen, man, this is a little dangerous. I was like, nah, like that, you know. But then it's crazy because your abs look tight and everything looks great.
Yeah, dude.
And you just get that extra pop that, you know, when you're new to lifting, like you're not going to be able to get that unless you really kind of manipulate what's going into your body. So it's good, but you know, it makes the content more interesting. But at the same time, you know, then it's like, it's hard because people don't understand you're doing that for those photos, and you get a lot of people versus looking at it like, you know, what, all right, this person is able to do this with their physique. What am I able to do? They just look at it like, oh, I need to look like that. And that's not necessarily, you know.
Yeah.
Then it kind of misconstrues what your actual message is, you know, because it becomes more comparison than, no, I'm just trying to share energy. Like, hey, this is dope. This is what training has done for me. This is a look that, you know, I've seen in movies or
that I want to replicate.
Yeah, I've noticed we both watched some animes, and it's like, man, that's sick. And I was able to do that. But people don't always see that in the content. That's why I think YouTube and, you know, long form content like this is more powerful, because they get a chance to actually go, oh wait, this is the background to that. You know, you give it a little bit of context, and then sometimes that's all somebody needs. Right.
No, dude, absolutely. And I don't know how long people may assume that I was on gear for too, but I do remember back in the day before I even started doing anything, that people were still accusing me of taking steroids. The good old days where I was like, oh yeah, they think I'm doing steroids. Yeah. But like, I remember just like, I would only look dry if I ever did that shit. Like I would only look crisp enough in my head compared to like those physiques, those anime physiques or those movie physiques that I wanted whenever I like peaked my physique. But people didn't realize that, you know, because, you know, you only wait for that best physique to show on Instagram or show on YouTube.
Right.
But
because you're not getting a photo done of you every day. It's only at that moment when you're like, all right, I'm dry, I'm pumped, as pumped as I can be. All right. And then you take 100 photos and you pick the best, you know, the best two angles out of all that. You know, it's just such a small, you're right, such a small percentage of how your physique actually looks, you know, over the whole, over a whole week or a whole month. Right.
But then again, at the same time, it is kind of funny because it is still fucking hard work. It's still hard ass work 100%. To do that peak week, bro. In fact, that peak week is just miserable, man. I don't think there's anything that was like looking that crisp. No matter what I do, whether it's naturally for a peak week, even on PEDs or anything, no matter what it is, in order for me to look that crisp and look that dry, I feel like shit. I have to feel like shit. Dude. Nothing, like everything.
The last couple of weeks I'm there with you. So you're talking like when you're actually competing, getting on stage.
Like when you're competing for sure. But like, okay, so say that you're doing a little peak week because you're just looking lean for like one of your videos back in the day when you were like trying to stay shredded.
Okay.
You ate that salt, maybe those fries, and then you stopped drinking water the day before. You had no pump when you were going to the gym. You didn't have any carbs. So you probably were low on sodium maybe in the morning. You didn't have any hydration. And then you also didn't really have like glycogen or very much carbs, at least.
Right, it was minimal, whatever.
Minimal, yeah.
Just from those fries.
So minimal energy, minimal electrolytes, minimal hydration. Those are all the things that make your brain work effectively, right? So you're walking in the gym and you're like not very clear-headed. You're a little bit foggy. You work out, then you have no pump, and the whole time you're stressing about content. And it's just like, God damn, this sucks.
Yeah, it's not even. You're not even training at that point. You're just going in there for the shoot. Yeah, really.
And it's like you wish you were getting good ass workout too, but it's just not possible. Honestly, it's not.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. Do you think it's easier? You spoke on kind of the differences peaking with PEDs versus without. Did you find in your experience doing both, like being natural for a period and then also, you know, working with PEDs for a period? Do you find it easier to at least have some level of energy with PEDs, or did you feel like it was pretty much the same, but your body just looked a little bit different?
So
I have a take on that too.
Here's the complicated thing is that it was both hard both times when it comes to that kind of peak week. But the two biggest differences. The first difference, the PEDs, obviously, when I was peaking on a cycle, I looked way better, obviously. I looked, well, better is, I mean, proportions the same, but I would just look less watery. I would look more dry, especially if it was a DHT-derived PED, and then I would look more full, right?
Okay.
And obviously, compared to other people, that looks like a better BMI. So they're like, wow, this guy looks crazy. This little guy looks insane.
Right.
So I'd look better. The second part to that, though, is in return for me looking that much better on those PEDs, my DHT has increased. So now I'm like I'm always like, oh, I got to keep moving. When I'm trying to go to sleep, I can't go to sleep. And I'm never like satisfied with the stuff I have that I've gained in my life. I want to get more. So I'm kind of just like very anxious. And then my estrogen is like fucking dirt low. So, and that's probably the worst part about it. So I may look better, but I actually feel worse on those days that I am doing the same thing as I did when I was naturally, but I also have PEDs for a cosmetic effect in my system. Like when my estrogen is suppressed, not only that affects my mental state, right? It really affects the mental state. It affects my sleep. It affects my long-term health. It affects, obviously, the things that aren't quite as substantial, but like, you know, your bones, they become more fragile. What else? I'm blanking out. There's so many side effects of low estrogen.
That's what, because did you have low estrogen? I remember, I don't know how long ago it was now, but you broke your leg. You broke your leg squatting. No?
Oh yeah.
Was that correlated? Do you think? Was it Did it have some kind of effect?
I don't know. I don't know about
Or was that just maybe a stress fracture over the years or something that never...
Oh, no. That one was actually because I was being stupid. I was squatting without safety racks, and I forgot to ask my friend for a spot.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, it's either doing 365 or 405, and I was repping it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then at one of the reps, I started going. I went to failure, and I didn't realize
that you were like,
I didn't
really
realize I was. I didn't realize that I was like at failure, and then I just started going back down, and I was like, oh shit. And then I tried to bail out, and when I jumped out from under the bar, I went forward and I dropped the bar backwards instead of. Well, honestly, if there's no safety racks, it's probably not a good idea to bend forward. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know. Someone can correct me on that. But I bailed out forward, jumped out forward, but the bar fell straight down, and I had one foot that I was able to get out in time, but the other foot was still there.
I see.
And so the bar landed right on my leg, like right there, and in a way where it twisted my leg.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of breaking the main bone in the leg, the tibia, it broke the fibula. And the fibula is used for like torsion, like changing the direction of your foot.
Like,
yeah,
like
like
rotating.
like rotating.
Okay.
So it like twisted my foot outwards, snapped my fibula like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was out squatting for like 3 or 4 months.
I was gonna say, shoot, man.
Yeah, it sucked. It sucked.
That's a tough one.
I don't know if I don't remember what I was running at the time, to be honest. So, but I mean, then again, there could be a potential possibility that, like, say I was and my estrogen was low, maybe my bone wouldn't have broken. Maybe it would have been just a fracture.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Huh. Yeah, you definitely, man. With the sides, well, I think I'll talk about kind of my experience with some of the side effects. Because I'm not, how do I put it? So I was natural for a long time. So 5+ years, at least since I started lifting and, started doing content shortly thereafter. I was putting stuff out. So it's kind of funny because I had a similar experience where, like, you'd have that certain pose with a certain pump and you're natural, like you haven't done anything. And people are coming at you like, oh, there's no way. And they debate and they go back and forth. And, you're like, listen. And at the time too, like I'm more not having really looked into it or done much research. I was ignorant to a lot of it, but I wouldn't say anything necessarily because I just took it as a compliment and moved on. It's like, all right, if you think, I'm taking something because I look this way, like I appreciate that. That's not really my goal. You're kind of missing the point here, but I appreciate, I guess I'm doing something right if I'm looking solid enough for you to say that I'm on these PEDs. And then once I started my journey to get my pro card, which I'm still on now, and I did some regional shows, did them naturally at the beginning of the year. That was in 2021, last year. And then at the end of the year was the first time I was like, okay, I really want to compete. Like, I don't want to just get lean and step on stage. I'm not saying you necessarily have to, that's obviously a personal decision for everybody. But for me, where my physique was, and after getting my blood work done, and I don't know how much that would limit me, but I was at the very bottom of the range for total testosterone. So I was like,
do you remember what you were? This was after competing naturally for the first time, right?
Yeah. So this was.
Oh yeah, bro.
But at the same time, I got it done. So I competed in, let's say, it was March. I did 2 shows back to back. I was thinking about jumping on my first cycle, so I got my blood work done. Man, it had to be maybe June, something like that. So at least a good few months passed when I had competed. So I don't know how much things kind of went back to normal, but still my test was really low. And I felt the energy, prior to those 2 shows too. Like I always felt like I had low energy, whether or not that was caused by the test. It's hard to say.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, I'm peaking, I'm prepping. Like, of course, I'm gonna feel like shit.
Yeah, so I'm prep. I definitely felt it. Yeah, so I started once I made that commitment. That's when I was actually for the first time. Okay, I did a cycle to grow, did a cycle to cut, and then went into my first national show because I felt like that's what I was getting at. For my physique and what my goals were, I felt like that was a tool I needed to start to implement or at least try. You know, I did it the best informed way I could at the time. You know, so I and still like there's definitely, I don't know if you want to call it like a harsh learning curve, but you know, you're doing things to your body that is never done before or has never gone through before. So, you know, there's a chance even doing something moderate, you know, which was my case, like there was a chance for side effects and everything else was good. Like my cholesterol was really good at the end of it, looked great, but my liver enzymes was the ALT and AST, I believe. Both of them were like, if you have the range at like, I don't want to say the wrong numbers, but it was 3 or 4 times higher than what the top of
it normally would be.
Yeah, what
normally you'd expect it to be around in the 50s.
Yeah, they were both in the 200s.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah. So and I had effects from that. It's not like, all right, you just their numbers are off. Take some, you know, supplements to get it down. Like no, I was starting to get, you know, serious health effects from it because my liver wasn't functioning as properly as it should. So that filter in the body wasn't filtering out like salts and stuff. So I was starting to get jaundice and things because my liver couldn't function the way it needed to function. And, you know, long term that can be bad. I mean, short term, it ain't great either. You know, like I have to, every other week, it was like I was sick. So, you know, it took me a while. It took me months to just kind of clean my body out and get back to normal. But like you said, that's just kind of the risk you take when you step into that, and you know, even having some resources and feeling like I did it the right way. Not to say I did or didn't, you know, I'm glad I got my blood work done, you know, before, during, and after at least, and, you know, gave myself at least a chance to manage the symptoms. But, you know, it's a very, it's still tough, you know, it's still tough. Yeah. And I felt like, because I kind of asked you if your energy was different when you were peaking. Like, I think from having some tests in my system, maybe I did need a little bit, you know, actually to be healthy. You know, that's kind of another topic, but, man, it's still the last couple weeks going on the stage. We're still, you know, you're just dragging through. And then after, not only it's like, okay, you achieved the look, but it's like, all right, now I got to deal with getting my body healthy and deciding, all right, what can I do moving forward? Because, all right, it's, you know, my levels are here. I need to get these down to here. And then you kind of go through, it's like, all right, well, you're not going to be taking the same thing, even though you're training hard, doing the cardio on your diet. So your body's just not going to look the same, you know, so you got to be okay with that too. And, you know, right now I'm taking some time and I'm not writing off competing completely, but I know I'm just not looking to revisit that, you know, right now, as it's not at the top of my priorities. I just have other priorities. Yeah. But that's kind of my experience with the symptoms. So it gets, you know, it's real. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't put it out there much just because it's something where is not something I want to hide, but it's also not something I want to promote. Yeah. You know, because again, it's like what we were talking about earlier. The message can really be taken the wrong way. It's like, oh, I got it. So I have to, you know, someone can look at it and be like, I have to take this to look like this. Well, they don't know why that person is taking this. And then there's, and like, it's funny too, because when people say whether you're natural or not, it's like, I used to think that was a very black and white question. And then now actually having looked at things, taken things, experienced it, and understanding it's not necessarily what you're taking. It's more, all right, what's your body, like, you know, what are your actual numbers? Like, what is it? What's in your body? Yeah, what's in your body? Exactly. You know what I mean? It's like what is your body currently going through and recently? Right. Right. Because like you could have taken loads of stuff 10 years ago. And you could ain't gonna show now, especially if you like, you know, your blood work's good and shit and whatever, but then you just came off. Like, you know, you see all these other, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I don't know, just anyone. It's almost as if it's been another lifetime. Oh, since you've taken it, yeah. Is that, and you could take it and like, because people like, I don't know, people just want to know so bad, and it, you know, I don't know the research on like how much muscle I don't know how many legitimate studies have even been done on that, but like how much muscle your body holds on to, you know, 3 months, 6 months, a year post cycle, depending on what you say. Like that'd be a hard thing to study. Obviously, I'd imagine to control all those variables. Yeah, for sure. So you know, I can't say I'm for sure bigger now than I would have been if I would have just bulked and stayed natural, because, you know, I was bigger when I was right after I got off my show. You know, I was eating, refeeding. You know, my numbers were still, you know, I still had a good amount of tests in my system and all that. And it's like now, you know, all my numbers are natural. So it's kind of strange. It's like, all right, so, you know, it's more of a fluid thing. It's like, all right, am I natural now? I don't know. I've taken things before to compete. I mean, but now you know, all my numbers are normal. Like, you know, I work now to keep my tests at a much healthier level than it was. But it's like, all right, it's not, you know, it's not out of the natural range. So does that make me natural? Does it not? It's kind of, I don't know. It's just interesting. There's not, so when people ask you, it's like, there's not really, like, what answer are you looking for exactly when you want to know if I'm not, like, have I ever taken anything? Am I currently taking things? You know, like, because someone who's never taken anything can come up to you, ask you if you're natural. And if you just look at test, they have, you know, they might have higher tests than you, you know, because you haven't been taking anything. So it's more like, what are your numbers? You know, that's more of a personal thing. So I don't know. It's just kind of funny to me, because it reinforced the concept of me in my head, where I'm like, it just doesn't. The question doesn't really matter. Yeah, because you don't know enough to answer to ask that question. You know, so it's like.
Plus, I do believe the genetic range is a lot bigger than people may think. Like, you can have someone that just comes up and just doesn't respond to testosterone very well and isn't born with a lot of testosterone, and then you can have dudes that like maybe respond really highly to testosterone, and not only are they above 600, maybe they're at like naturally at 1,000, and so they always look jacked. Maybe they were never fat, so they don't have a lot of fat cells in their body, so it's easier for them to look leaner on the amount of food that they're consuming, which thus means that they can also look fuller on less fat and less water in their system. It's just like genetics play such a huge role that it's like, I mean, to be honest, you could have someone who has absolutely terrible genetics, and then he starts gear, and then maybe after a lot of hard work, he can finally be on par with someone who has an amazing genetics.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Hasn't never taken gear, you know.
Right.
I mean? So.
And then people would dog that person, you know, or some people would dog that person for being natural.
Yeah,
not.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't.
Right.
You use the tools at your disposal as smart as you can to achieve what you want to achieve. You know, it's like, I don't know. That's all I have to say on that, really. Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, do what you can to minimize risk. You know, at the end of the day, like there's risk in a lot of things, but anything with PEDs is nothing to rush. Yeah. You know, that's all I can. That's all I can really say.
That's facts. You know? That's for sure. It's definitely a long-term game. In fact, bodybuilding naturally and unnaturally, I think, both ways around.
You're saying both ways are long term.
Yeah,
yeah,
a very long term game.
Absolutely.
For sure. Real quick, let's take a quick break. If you're down, I gotta like restart this camera.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't know you could do that with the board. That's cool.
Yeah, isn't it like tight?
That. Yeah,
it's fucking dope. Can make it a little louder too. What else?
That's the one you don't want.
Yeah. Bet. Okay. Well. Okay. Where did we leave off? So we were talking about a lot of stuff before we even started the podcast too.
Yeah. Yeah, we were. Well, we kind of, and I'm glad we touched on that, because that's, yeah, I don't know. I think that was important to touch on what we finished off with last, just kind of those experiences.
Right.
Because that's not, again, like I mentioned to you when we took our break, it's like that's not something I touch on very often. It's more of a one-on-one basis, just because it can be taken so many ways. You don't want to necessarily endorse something, or also shame something at the same time. That's why I like this kind of space in this podcast. Yeah. You know, you made a good. I can already tell the vibe is good to just be real about those type of things. You know, from a one-on-one perspective versus like, hey, because I feel like the question's kind of loaded. Like if we're going back for a second on what we finished on, it's like, are you natural? It's almost like with an asterisk, like, should I do PEDs if too? You know what I mean? If I want to look like this, it's kind of, you know what I mean? Like, it's loaded. So I think that's all I'm saying. Is I'm glad you've made a space to talk about those things on a one-on-one basis and not like, yeah, this is what you should or shouldn't do. You know?
Right. I mean, one of the biggest reasons that I wanted to leave it in a podcast format too is because I didn't want it to be taken out of context. Like if I post something, someone just asked that question and I just give them an answer, or like I post something on TikTok, for example, like I feel like there's not enough context to really explain the whole complexity that is like PEDs.
Good point.
Right. And taking that out of context, then it's a lot easier for, say, someone who isn't as educated to just do something that they probably might regret later. Right.
And that's what you don't want at the end of the day.
Right.
You know, you and I are both in this for positive reasons, you know, so you don't want to see it go the other way for sure.
Like, people can say what they want. People can say what, whatever opinions they feel about that shit. But at the end of the day, like, if someone really wants to do something because it makes them feel fulfilled, then that's really on them and their body. But the most I can do is just wish for the goodness of their health and their happiness, and really just share everything I can in my absolute power to make sure that I can help that happen. You know,
I agree, man.
Because information is a powerful tool, and I think it'd be used to help or hurt people. So I just want to make sure that I'm not doing it the wrong way and not actually hurting more people in the long run.
I agree. And I mean, that's all you can do, you know, come with the best intention. I think is the start. And then, you know, I don't want to say intention is everything, because there's definitely times it's like you come with the right intention, but I think if you, I'm thinking how I want to put that. But I think if you come with the right intention, you're open to learning on how to improve what it is you're actually communicating or doing, like your actual work, you know. Like, I think that's a good starting place, because, you know, I don't think intention is always enough, you know, because sometimes you have the right intention, but it's like what's a good example of this?
You can have a right intention, but I think it's important to be also conscientious about every action that you're taking.
Right. And I think that reaction is in part is some of the feedback you use to evolve and change the actual work you put out with the same intention, you know, but the work, you know, actually gets better, you know, because you're perceptive of how it's received. We're looking deep into intention, right? Right now. But yeah, it's important, you know. It's important. But yeah, what else? What else should we go into?
I'm curious. So you talked a little bit about this with me earlier, but like, so what are your future plans right now? What are like the plans in the books for Merk Fitness, for JustMerk?
There's a lot to that question.
I know that you're going through a lot right now.
Yeah, probably, you know, get lunch after this.
Yeah.
No, but it's definitely been a change. So I guess some of you follow, I think it's easier to follow more of the journey, at least for what I put out on YouTube. I moved down, so I was started in Ohio. That's where I did most of the things. You know, it's the hometown up there, just south of Cleveland, in Akron, and I was up there for probably at least a good 5 years doing it. And then recently, about 6 months ago, I moved down to Florida, and I just knew I was at a point where I needed to change. I needed to grow. I felt like I got out of Ohio everything that I could have. You know, I had a lot of goals written down, you know, literally written down in my notes, and it was like, all right, I've done 90% of these. You know, now it's time to put myself in a new environment, put some new challenges in front of myself, get out of my comfort zone a little bit more. And I did that. And then being in Florida now, you know, I've realized, okay, there's certain things that I want to do, you know, for the future that wouldn't be the best fit for Florida. You know, that's why I'm out here exploring, moving out here now. You know, it comes down to simple things like a feeling, a vibe, like, you know, even just the scenery out here the aesthetic of kind of the desert and the mountains. Like I like that a lot more. In Florida is a, you know, you got the beach or a swamp really. You know, of course, you know, you get some cool cityscapes and stuff with Miami and everything, but you know, even paying attention to little things like that. And okay, if I'm gonna be shooting out in a place like this more, you know, just kind of taking more responsibility for it and going, okay, well, you know, how much am I going to be spending on flights and traveling out here and booking shoots out here, and then, you know, comparing that to, all right, how much am I paying in rent, you know, in Florida, and you know, kind of like what's the, you know, what is this money actually enabling me to do, you know, looking at it like that. I think a little bit more, with a little bit more focus, that kind of has translated to me going, okay, I see my future out here. So it's like, all right, now I gotta, you know, make the move again, cut the losses. It's like, it's never a loss either. I don't regret moving out there. I learned a lot. And I had to move out there to know, okay, I want to switch directions again and give it everything out here. Cause I feel like, you know, every step you take is, even if it's not necessarily directly to where you want to go, sometimes you take a step to the side to realize, okay, this is the direction I have to go, you know, but you don't know, you know, you kind of explore this road a little bit, even though you know what the goal is in the end. You know, you're like, all right, let me see this road a little bit. You try it out. Like, okay, maybe let me slide over here and see this, because this doesn't have this. But I didn't know that until I started going down this way. Yeah, so it's a long-winded backstory for leading up. But yeah, I want to focus on things like merchandise, really putting out high quality, you know, custom products and designs. And like, I realize I have a little bit of a passion for that, and I like the idea and kind of the workflow of creating a team around that. So that's where I'm at the very beginning of, and then, you know, some of it's the continuation, you know, continuing to do YouTube, continuing to evolve the content, you know, continuing on Instagram, working with different creatives like photographers, videographers who have some specific styles that I'm really attracted to, that I think people will appreciate.
Yeah, dude.
So those things get me excited. So now, so that I guess going back to give a little more context, that's when I'm like, okay, in order to do those things, where am I going to be best? Like, where's home base going to be? You know, so making those type of decisions based off of the work first. You know, I think that that's helped to orient myself better and just more confidently. You know, to
be honest, that's like, I've always looked up to your YouTube content, bro. Your YouTube content's always been super sick. It's been dope as hell. I love the cinematic feel to it. You really give this very motivated, driven energy, and like with a lot of like, what is it? A lot of purpose. There's like a lot of purpose in your videos, and I love that. And that's something I've always wanted to. That's something I've always aspired for with my YouTube content as well. So that was one thing that I was saying, is that for me, it's been really hard to find like a cinematic videographer in San Diego. I've really enjoyed the kind of content that I've been making on YouTube. It's been super diverse. I want to narrow it down because, you know, some people don't want this content, some people don't want that content, and it's like, whatever, I want to post whatever I want to post, but at the same time, I do want to start becoming more consistent. And that's one of the things I found that's difficult, is like to truly find like an editor and other people that can really capture your vibe and your vision. And even if you can find someone, obviously it's going to take a good amount of time for you guys to converse and then finally like be able to understand what each other's vision is.
Yeah, it's definitely a relationship. Like, I found it easiest to, for sure, you know, I've been grateful to work with some very talented guys. But I found it easiest to work with somebody consistently over time, because things get a little faster to do kind of the basics, you know, like the basics that have to be done, like the little things like the titling, you know, what are little things like, you know, what your aspect ratio is, like, you know, all those little things that you have to set up the first couple of times to make sure, okay, we're on the same page with like just how the information is getting put across. But then over time, like you said, you understand each other's vision, and that's powerful. And especially, you know, like working with a guy like Mook, right? You know, obviously his talent is far bigger than what my specific vision is for a lot of my videos, but he's willing to understand what I'm looking for and focus in and go, okay, I know Michael likes like this kind of, you know, this kind of vibe and these kind of shots and, you know, this kind of editing style, you know, so he's able, and anytime we shoot a video for the channel, it's going to be in that, you know, kind of in that general range of his editing style, you know, so it's like he's willing to, yeah, he's willing to just hone in on what I'm trying to create, and then that way that evolves. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't jump around, you know, because this guy, you know, when you work with somebody, typically they're going to work on other things, whether it's projects for themselves, projects for other people. But if they're able to be diverse with their style and go, okay, I know you're trying to create something very specific, so I'm going to work with you on just that. You know, they might bring in other ideas, but in general, the core of what you're trying to create, they're on board with that. So I feel like that allows it to really be as best as it can be, you know, versus like, all right, let's do this shoot, but I want to do it like this. And then, you know, it doesn't come out right because it's, you know, it's more their vision. So if you can find somebody who can, like you said, build that vision with, man, that's powerful.
That's what I'm really thankful for. Yeah. I'm really, really thankful for those guys that, those videographers you meet that like they truly care. It's kind of the feeling that you kind of need when you're meeting someone is like, how much do they care? Like, how much do they really want to like help you and put in their effort? How much are they going to care about the content that they put out for you? Right. And you can just tell by the energy and, you know, how much, like if they're like writing down notes on all the things that you want and like how they're trying to really change their type of style and making sure that, oh, like I know that Merk wants this. I know that Merk likes, I know that Merk likes to scan his videos like this and changes angles like that. And, you know, this style of font in like the middle with that text and this kind of music, like everything down to like a T. Yeah. That's when, you know, like you've got it and you got to invest in that guy for sure.
Yeah. 100%.
It's hard to find though. So I think it's wise that anyone who's in the, anyone who's trying to start their, you know, social media and do something like that, like really take time to spend, looking for somebody who will really be willing to do that for you. I think it's not so much like finding the person with the best skill set. It's more so finding the person that's the most willing to, work with you and stay responsible at the same time.
That's a great point right there. I think that's like someone who really fits what you're trying to do, the vision you have. That's a great point. And like kind of going back, like you asked my future plans in terms of building a team. You know, I'm just at the beginning of that, but that to me that's the start. You know, when you start thinking in that way towards the people that are going to have a hand on the final product that you're collectively putting out. You know, that's kind of the start of a team. It's like a lot of people might see it as, oh no, I'm just working with a videographer. It's like, yeah, but that the way you build that relationship and the way you communicate and the way you plan things, you know, you make sure they're happy with, you know, what they're being compensated, how they're being compensated for their work. You know, that's the beginning of, you know, those are like, in my opinion, from what I've seen, the kind of the building blocks, or at least the starting point toward a lot bigger vision with things. You know, if you start there. So it's a good way to practice too for people, you know, who are just getting started working with somebody else. It's like that, you know, it's not just you and a videographer. It can be a lot more if you can see kind of the bigger vision of it, you know?
Yeah.
So just some food for thought, 2 cents on that, I guess.
I feel like you have a lot of potential in creating something huge for your brand as well, like continuing to create your own brands and your own business. And going off of that, I also agree, and this is something that I've actually learned more recently, and I'm excited to implement further down the road as I start building my team up more in regards to both content, video editing, and business. But I think truly learning how to delegate your positions to the best people that you can, like the best people that you can to take on those positions, and then also just truly caring about them is, I think, the most effective way for us to truly grow in our business. Because we can't do it all alone. And that's something that took me like fucking 4 years to learn, bro. Been doing all this shit like alone for like the last like 4 years, and it's not been it for sure.
Right. And because you can only go so far, you know, like there's one thing to kind of wear different hats within your business. Because I think especially when you're starting, even when you have a team, you're going to have to, you know, take on different roles. But there's a big difference between wearing different hats and wearing all of the hats. You know, like it's like you said, it's damn near impossible. I mean, it is, depending how big the vision is, how big you're trying to go. You have to have that team behind you. And you're right. And delegating's tough, because when you start, usually it is just you, or maybe you and somebody else, but then you've done something for so long. Like I used to edit my videos, and that was hard. And I knew I needed to do it. And I had a great videographer at the time that was filming everything, and I was still editing it all. And I was just like, man, I'm so specific on like certain shots to get this kind of vibe, and then the way I want to, you know, put in the words and stuff. And then when I finally, what got me to eventually delegate was my first prep. Yeah. So I was maybe like a month out from the show. I'm like, hey, there's no way I can edit another video. Like it's like, it's just like with everything else I was trying to do, and you know, he had some availability. It was like, all right, I don't really have an option. Like I gotta at least see what it's gonna be like to delegate that, you know, that video editing role to him, and it ended up being far better than I could have done. You know, and there's the lesson right there. It's like, you know, that's what he was passionate about. That was his skill set. You know, I was only limiting both of us by, you know, having him really do half of his job in a sense. You know, and he wasn't pressed. You know, he was like, you know, I'll happily do more work, but if you want to edit the content, I understand. But you know, it's a good lesson for moving forward. You know, and it takes a little bit of work up front to, like we said, build that relationship when you're giving somebody a new task. But if they're the right fit, they'll put in that kind of, you know, thoughtfulness into the work, and it'll evolve, and they'll get better at it over time too, because they care. You give them good feedback. You know, what are we doing right? You know, like because you still have your vision, and that's gonna change too. So it's like, all right, what are the things we're doing right? Let's keep doing those. What are the things maybe we can improve on? You know, all right, how can we improve on them? You know, even if it's just a couple points each time, week to week, whatever it is, whether it's a video project, you know, you're putting out a product, like whatever. It's like, you know, you just look at those things. All right, and that kind of keeps you motivated. You know, so it's not just like, you know, maybe someone's 80% is able, you delegate a position and they come back and they're like 70% there, right? You know, you got to focus on, all right, we got 70% there, you know, versus just, all right, this 30%, this is wrong, and wrong. You know, then it feels like, all right, well, is this ever going to be right? Because they could come back the next week and they're 80% there, and 20% is off, but you're always focusing on what's off. It's like, yeah, it can get better, but that's very discourage at the same time. So looking at both, you know, communicating both. All right, what's good? Let's keep doing that. You know, what can change, and then, you know, I think that has helped me to work with multiple people and see things really improve over time. And people notice, you know, like when it comes to videos, it's really satisfying, or it's really gratifying to see someone say, you know, I really enjoy like the quality of these videos, because when I see that and I share that with the video editor, it's like we both know, like within our work relationship, how that's, you know, how that product has progressed. It's like we know it because we see it every week. We go, okay, all right, well, we have a list of points that we wanted to improve on, and we improved on those, and then we had things that were good that we kept in. And then you get the feedback from people, and they notice that, like that's cool. And then you're excited because you're like, yo, all right, we're communicating together. We're doing something that we couldn't really do without the other person, and we're getting good feedback from it. And you know, you feel something growing, and you feel it evolving the right way. Like that's very gratifying right there.
Mm-hmm. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, man.
The evolution, dude. Evolution of our creation and our content.
Mm-hmm.
Never did I ever think we'd be doing what we're doing now, for sure.
Same, man. That's for damn sure.
All right. A little change of pace, though. Kind of curious. Bro, do you, because we've been like doing this bodybuilding thing, this fitness thing for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like party?
Yeah, I mean, here and there. Like, I don't go crazy, like, but that's just more my personality.
Yeah.
It's less like bodybuild, so I can't ever go out and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, moving to Florida, like not being far from Miami, you know, there's been a couple nights here and there where, you know, you get the right vibe, some good people, you go out. You know,
Miami's an interesting place.
dude. It's I haven't even scratched
Latin music everywhere.
Yeah, that's fun. Like, I haven't really scratched the surface, to be honest, but or I've barely scratched the surface. But yeah, I mean, I make time for it, but I make minimal time because, like, for me at the end of the day, like why do you party? Like, you enjoy that release, you know, you enjoy that fun.
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
And I do too. I do too in the right setting with the right people. But you know, for me, like, I don't know, I'll go to bed at like 10 on a Friday night to get up at 6 on a Saturday morning and go for like a cool morning hike. Like that recharges me. That resets me. Like that's my, you know, that would be like something comparable to someone who really likes going out. So I don't, you know, like at the right time and place, sure.
Right.
You know, I don't prioritize it just because, shoot, there's other things that I really like to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but yeah, if the vibe's right, man, like I'm gonna have some tequila.
There it is.
Like, yeah, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's all timing too. I'm not gonna do that,
Yeah.
you know, a month out from a competition.
Yeah.
You know, but like now that I've been chilling a little bit, I decided not to compete at the end of the year. You know, when those times come up or, you know, there's an important event or something, it's like I'm not gonna miss that.
Yeah,
you know,
dude.
that's important. Like being around people and sharing those memories, you don't get that time back. So that's how I'd look at partying more than more than
I agree with that.
Yeah,
full-heartedly. It's funny, man. Fuck, Merk's a wholesome guy.
man. I don't know. Sometimes I tell myself, I don't know. Like I'm happy at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I know that
that's all that really matters.
Yeah, I was
man.
gonna joke and be like, yeah, I tell myself I need to get out more here and there. Like, but to be honest, I know when I do. I know when I'm like, shoot, I could really use a night out.
Like
or
what really serves you, honestly.
Yeah, change of pace. But
Mm-hmm.
man, if I'm working all week and I want to go on a hike, when I finish up this project or something, or you know, just take a chill evening, man, I'm not, you know, I'm not regretting that. Like that's my time, you know.
I feel that too. I definitely used to party hard back in the day, but and that's just something that I know that a lot of people are interested in like how does like a fitness influencer, like a bodybuilder party, like how do they do that? Because everyone likes to drink, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I have realized that as I've grown older, that I just I don't even have any like sense or desire for that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
it just doesn't give you the same.
No, it
same
doesn't.
effect.
It doesn't. But I mean, that just comes with growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess now I'm actually in the, like, to be fully transparent, I really am kind of honestly in the moment of trying to figure out like what kind of form of rest would serve me.
I see.
Because now at this point I'm actually a little bit more than ever like just so obsessed with like my career path that I think I need to find some time to like just stop and stay still.
Yeah,
for like just a moment.
Do
you know?
you feel like being obsessed, like obviously, like you said, that's what's serving you right now is that putting that focus into your career. Do you feel like you lose touch with the moment? Do you feel like you're at a point where you're worried about putting too much focus into your career, where you're like, man, time's gonna fly, and I wouldn't have been as present as I'd like to have been. Is that kind of what you're saying?
It's part of it. I also know that like burnout is a thing, and I understand that in order for you to really work your most efficiently, you have to give your brain a rest. You know, you have to give your mind, your spirit, you have to give it all a rest at some point, you know. But here I am, I wake up, start working, and then it's still like 1 a.m. and I'm still on the computer.
Damn.
Which is something that I definitely need to fix. But I don't know, I guess that's just what I felt, what my desires are right now is just like, oh, I want to grow. But at the end of the day, though, you know, before I know it, all of this is going to pass. And if I haven't had an ounce of fun or whatever during the whole process, then I'm just going to look back and be like, fuck, I could have done that one thing. I could have hung out with my friends that one time before they were gone. Like, I could have done that. So I'm just trying to realize that balance is probably the most important thing in my life right now. And
do you think,
not to make this,
go ahead.
Not to make this too heavy, but I'm realizing that, you know, one of my best friends just like passed away like a couple weeks ago, and after it happened, I kind of like realized like I'm doing it again. Like, I'm like not spending time with my family, my friends, like when I should be. And I kind of felt a lot of guilt. And if I'm going to be real, I still feel guilt about it. And so I'm just having a realization that like work isn't everything. It's not all life. At some point I do need to make sure that I value my friends and my family, you know, before they're gone. So it's just another thing that I'm trying to keep in mind.
No, I think that's very, very real and very true. And it's hard because you want to give 100, like you know, I know how conscious you are of your work, and it's like you want to give 100% of your effort to that work, or you feel like you're kind of, you know, selling yourself short, you know, because I have that perspective at least, you know. So it's like, you know, when I think you have to set that balance in your mind and then actively work on it and be at peace with whatever balance you choose, you know, knowing that 100% all work is not realistic, you know, and not being hard on yourself for not necessarily that you're letting off the gas, but you're making sure you take care of those other relationships that are important for you in your life. And that's hard too, because you know, I've caught myself, you know, like, you know, having a night out or going to dinner and being like, damn, like I don't really need to spend this money right now. I could put this money into this, or, you know, I could have got to sleep a little earlier so I could get up and do this had I not, you know, gone out or taken that moment. So it's tough. Like, you know, I don't have the answer, you know, any answers for that, because I'm still finding my balance too, because I second guess myself sometimes when it comes down to that. It's like, man, am I really, you know, giving everything that whoever says I need to give to it to, or am I giving 90%, you know? But I think, I don't know. I try to look at it and say, all right, if I'm as conscious as I can and finding that balance, you know, it's not going to be perfect. I'm not going to tell myself like, man, I need better balance next week, and then next week's going to be a perfect blend of how much I work versus how much time I spend for, you know, loved ones and family and friends and stuff. It's like, it's kind of like, you know, maybe that's something you have to go off feeling, and maybe that's how it's supposed to be. You know, maybe it's like, man, I feel like right now is a period where I need to put a little bit more time into, you know, those relationships, and you do. And then, you know, maybe you have a week or two where you're like, all right, I need to dial back a little bit and just put a little bit more into work, you know, back off a little bit with these other things. And you do, you know, and maybe you're always like they say, like swinging that pendulum, you know, with one way towards more work, one way toward more, you know, just like the real experiences, you know, because you can't just abandon what you do, you know, at the same time. You know, there's certain, especially where we are and where we want to go, you know, as bosses, and in terms of not like boss, but like leading, you know, leading a team or just working with people. And, you know, there's a certain level of responsibility that you have to those people too, to bring your best game. You know, I take that pretty seriously. It's like, I'm not going to tell you, hey, I have this vision, you know, let's work on this together. And then, you know, come over here, you know, half-assing it or giving it 70%. It's like, no, like, you know, I told you I really am going out to do something. So I have to back that up with my action. But at the same time, you know, like we're humans. We need real experiences. We need real connection with people. We need to spend real time with people. So I don't know. Like that's kind of where I'm at, is going off of feeling a little bit more, and just and not and being okay with that. Like being okay with it ebbing and flowing a little bit. Where there's times where I feel like I need to put a little bit more on work, and I do that. And then times where I feel like I need to put a little bit more on, you know, relationships and friendships, and I do that. And, you know, I can't say that's, you know, a formula, but I don't know. At the end of the day, it's helping me be aware of myself, how I feel, and kind of keep those relationships still at the forefront. Even if I'm consciously working more, I'm like, okay, I know I'm doing that because I feel the need to, and I feel like that's, you know, that's allowing me that space to work. So when I go back and I have that night with my friends or whatever, you know, where you have that night, take your girl out to dinner, right? It's like, I feel like I'm bringing the best of who I am to that, because I'm paying attention to how I felt prior. You know, I'm getting done what I need to get done, you know, and I don't know, man, it's tough though, because I haven't, you know, I can't relate. I haven't gone through having a close friend, you know, pass away and not be in my life. So I can't, you know, I can't fully, you know, be in your shoes on that, and be in your headspace. But hopefully, you know, maybe that's at least a little food for thought for things, you know.
Appreciate that, dude.
Yeah.
Your input, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's, you know, that's just my raw experience with it.
I'm gonna press this button real quick.
You're straight.
Young LA clothes. I am hella broke, so you guys please use my code, because it's the only way that I won't be broke anymore. But Young LA clothes, code Nyle. Huge supplements as well, code Nyle. And then if you are looking for a bodybuilding-friendly HRT clinic to get something such as TRT, healing peptides, any of the above, even things for hair treatments or erectile dysfunction treatments, that is my HRT company. That is my HRT company, Trenscend HRT. And you can click the link below to sign up with them as well. And clicking that link and that reference link will also help me, as well as give me a little bit of commission too. Damn, bro. Forgot what I wanted to ask you now. Okay. Oh, well, kind of unrelated and totally another change of pace. But I wanted to ask you, dude, you've been shredded for like the last 5-6 years. Like, so you said you drink tequila, right? Yeah. So how do you stay shredded the last like 5 years or so and still go out and like, if you decide that you want to go out and party and stuff, like what'd you do? So
proportionally, like I don't go out that much. So even the times I do, it's probably really minimal. And then just little things like, I know my body doesn't respond well to a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
You know, it's the simple thing of like doing like mixing something with soda water or taking it straight versus, you know, doing a sugary mixed drink.
Okay.
You know, so it's just the basic things. I stand away from that. I think that helps, because either way I'm gonna be a little hungover in the morning, but at least that way it's like I didn't have all that sugar. Yeah. So it's a little easier for me to, at least if my look changes a little bit the next day or two, it's a little easier for me to bounce back in terms of the look. I've noticed if I don't have the sugar in there. But beyond that, yeah, man, just for me is moderation, but that's easy because that's my personality. Yeah. So I'm not somebody that is ever had the desire to go out like week to week.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not, that's not how I recharge and get my energy. So that
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
though.
that's kind of, you know, that's, you know, maybe it's lucky or a good fit for that kind of lifestyle. I'm trying to think if there's anything I really do. I mean, if I know I'm gonna eat, like if I'm gonna go out, drink a little bit, probably get some food with friends, you know, I'll just save some save some calories, save some carbs, you know, that day or maybe the next day after as well. But you know, that's it. I don't stress that too much.
Yeah.
I'm more focused on just the experience.
We do be looking shredded though after a night of drinking though.
Oh, like
fucking dry.
Yeah, man. 100%.
Dude, I mean, like, I think my biggest secret for like partying and stuff, while doing fitness, bodybuilding, like trying not to, whatever, has been basically just not doing alcohol for like the last 6 years.
Really?
But yeah, but I did do alcohol, dude, for a long period of time back in college, man. I was in a fraternity and everything, and like back in the day when I was like trying to get a sick ass Instagram photo like on Sunday, I would just like drink some shit on Saturday night, like some vodka and tequila, and like Sunday morning I'd just be coming out like dry and shredded.
The old
like,
Ronnie Coleman.
abs just peeled.
Do a couple shots.
Yeah. It was so funny, man. Not anymore, but one of my friends was actually given a shot of I think one of my friends was given a shot of tequila before he went on stage.
Yeah, I think people.
Yeah.
People,
no, I think it was the night before. Yeah. It's kind of cool. Kind of interesting.
I mean, there's other diuretics out there.
Just like one shot. I guess that's chill, right? 64 calories.
I mean, definitely take the edge off a little bit.
Yeah. Especially right going before going to sleep. Like anything to help, dude. With all the shit that's going on in your system, like especially if people are taking like tren and stuff, and then their estrogens crashed. Dude, I don't think I know anyone the day before the show that has gotten sleep. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't do, so I don't have any experience with tren, but even when I was taking like, man, maybe 2 hours of sleep the night before the show.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because you're like, you know, you think that's what I need to prioritize. Like,
yeah. But you just can't. You just can't.
Yeah, the entire prep you've prioritized. Like that's what really also helped me on prep is being on a very consistent sleep cycle. Like not just getting enough sleep, but I felt like I was able to really change my body because, every night, 10:30 I was asleep or whatever, and then I'd be up at 6, right? So it was a very consistent sleep schedule. But then, as peak week, that final week, as you get close to the last couple of nights before you get on stage, just like that whole sleep cycle you spent months building just goes out the window because you can't sleep for whatever. I think some of it's I was reading some of it's due to dehydration too. Your body's not able to produce as much natural melatonin if you're in a dehydrated state, so then you're not sleeping there too. Like I messed up. I remember, man, now this is a story. So the first, so I did 2 back-to-back shows. It was the second show I did, and I was natural still at the time. It was the start of 2021, but I was somewhere up at some random area in Ohio, some regional show, just trying to qualify for nationals. And man, it was probably like 3:30 in the morning, and I couldn't sleep. And then I'm like, I don't think I'm going to sleep at all. So I start freaking out. So I get in my car, I drive, trying to find some kind of like little convenience store just to take like a Benadryl, something like anything to help put me to sleep. And I probably ended up only doing more damage because, one, I took it so late that I was still drowsy the whole morning and probably into the show. But 2, I was just, I was stressing myself out. I should just laid there and chill, even if I wasn't asleep, going back at it. But I should have had some melatonin. That's what I needed, and I didn't have any on me.
That's the thing too, is like I don't even know if melatonin will help in that situation. Yeah, honestly, maybe it'll help a little bit, but all melatonin really does is like help your circadian rhythm. Just like give your body like a notice of like, hey, when is it time to go to sleep?
That's a good point.
It's already dark and stuff. To be honest, the reason that we're not, like you said, dehydration is a big factor. People are normally on diuretics as well. It's going to keep you up as well. You're going to keep pissing throughout the night too. If your estrogen is low, you're not going to get sleep. If your estrogens crash, bro, there ain't no chance. If your DHT is way too high, there probably ain't no chance. Like, you probably have some kind of anxiety and you just can't sleep. It's just part of it. Plus, that's also a side effect of a lot of the PEDs that are taken like the last few weeks before the show, or any of the ones that like cause the cosmetic effect also have that side effect. So like, you stack all those things on top of each other. You know, even if you're natural, all those things that you're doing in peak week as well. And then finally, of course, you're about to step on stage for the one show that you've been competing for like the last, you know, you've been in prep for the last 16 weeks. Bro, like before every single show I ever had, the night before, for some reason, I couldn't meditate off of it. I would literally just reenact and practice my posing in my head, like on and on and on the night before. Like, how the fuck do I just like perfect it? Like, as if that's gonna like change anything, you know? Not actually practicing it in person, but it just, that anxiety, it just keeps you running, like making you feel like, oh, you need to do more, you need to do more. So yeah, it sucks, but no sleep the night before for sure.
Yeah.
Then I remember when I had a coach, I did a lot of my journey was self-coached, but it was nice to have a coach to give me some direction, especially when I first started and I didn't know anything about PEDs and stuff. But for the peak week, I like followed his shit to a T. And he had me even like waking up in the middle of the night to like eat a muffin or eat some extra carbohydrates before the next day, especially if I didn't look full enough on Friday, you know, before the show. So I'd wake up anyways, like once or twice during the night to just eat some carbs. So makes you wonder, because I feel like having that lack of sleep is going to force you to hold some extra water weight the next day. But I don't know. Bodybuilding, you're taking all those diuretics and stuff and you're not drinking any water, so there probably isn't any water for you to hold anyways.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to say. And then that's something with, you know, experience. You do a peak week, you know, you finish that last night, getting up, taking carbs in. Maybe you feel a little off, and the next time you do it, you know, you try it without doing that. You know, you just kind of, some of it's trial and error too, to see what you respond to. But yeah, it's an interesting sport, man. It's an interesting sport, bro. I step back sometimes, and you know, because I've only been in the competition side of it really for the last since the start of 2021. Yeah, so not that long, just a year and a half or so. Yeah, and this year hardly counts because I was just getting healthy. Now I'm not competing at the end of the year, but it's strange, man. Like I think the thing that bothers me about it, and this is not to discredit any other sport, but the fact that and I'm curious your opinion on this. It feels objective to an extent. You know, there's because you know, obviously, I have the scorecards and there's things they're looking for, you know, for each division. And there's a look they're looking for, but to a point, I'm like, you know, how much of it is subjective? You know, and I think that always, deep down, that always frustrated me a little bit. You know,
it is frustrating.
To a certain point, like people have different bone structures, you know, different insertion points and everything. So like that's gonna dictate what your look is, even if you guys have the same, you know, roughly the same body fat percentage and all that, the same amount of muscle mass. So it's that, I think that frustrates me a little bit, because it's not like we're playing and, you know, I can practice and I can figure out a way to just go there and you know, score more points than you, or you know what I mean. It's like, yes, there's a scorecard, but it's not direct like that. You know, you feel me? I'm curious, because you have more experience than me.
I feel you so much, bro. I feel you so much. And I think the one thing that I've learned the one thing that I keep in mind in my life, and that I've kind of created this mindset for myself in order to keep myself on track and to really still enjoy the process, is that if you think about everything that's happened over the course of life, every kind of game that's been played, every kind of sport that's been played, none of them are ever technically fair. None of them ever technically are simply a measure of who's worked the hardest, because there's always something where somebody has some sort of edge, whether it just be from purely the genetics they were born with, right? Like if you're playing basketball, the taller people have a small advantage. They do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's so much more that goes into it. It's not just height. There's a lot of just their physical ability, their focus, simply even just their focus, dude. Like ADHD is a spectrum. You know what I mean? And that it doesn't translate only to academics and on paper, but it translates to like your hand-eye coordination, your mind and muscle connection. It translates to everything. Just how much you focus translate to just how you perform in everything in life. So there's just so many different factors that if you realize that technically nothing in life is fair and everyone is dealt with different cards, the whole thing is really kind of just a game we've created. That's a good perspective. Right. Like all the sports that we've created are simply just that. They're like a game. And I know that everyone who gets to the very top takes it very seriously, but I think it's important to realize that throughout the process, while you can take it seriously, it's still a game. Like you're still playing. You're just playing to win. You're not playing for your life, right? So when there are things that should probably take more priority in your life, maybe some things of more importance, say like, you just found out like your mom has cancer, so now you got to decide whether or not you need to you should be traveling to like your competition or your game like over there, or if you should stay at home to like see your mom. Then maybe just make your decision based off of realizing that like, yeah, I love this, but it's also a game.
That's a good perspective.
Yeah. And that's just something that I try to remind myself. So it's a game and we have a lot of tools, and in bodybuilding we have more tools than most other sports. So just whatever you're born with, whatever tools you decide to use, however you decide to use those tools, those all come to play when it comes to bodybuilding. And then finally, like, how have you painted your art piece, and how does that appeal to the judges? And then how do you perform, and how do you flaunt that art piece to the judge? Like all those variables.
There's a lot of variables.
There's a lot of variables, bro. Thousands of variables. But yeah, and then that's the game. And then whoever wins, wins. You know what I mean? Which why, like, for example, when I think of the person that's killing it the most in the industry, Chris Bumstead, I can also see it, Like he has the persona. He has a look. He has a lot of things that he's gifted with, but he's also worked really, really hard. He's also been gifted with a family that has a lot of experience in the field. And so the knowledge that he has when it comes down to the type of supplements that he's using, how he's using those supplements, cycling for how long it takes for him to, like how slow he wants to move through those, like even down to his posing and everything, just everything. Like, there's a ton of variables, but like he's killed it. He's killed it in every fashion, even social media, and how he's created his content and decided to continue his business and continue his momentum, like everything. So yeah, you just got to like play with your cards, the cards that you were dealt, and realize that everyone's dealt different cards. So why compare when you're someone totally different?
That's the truth right there. That's the truth. And that's a good perspective on bodybuilding too, going back for a second. In that just because something else may seem more objective, doesn't mean it necessarily is. Like you said, there's a lot of variables that go into every sport. If we're just looking at sports, that, like you said, whether it's, talent, God-given ability, or someone's taller than this person, or, they naturally they have a little more muscle on their legs in order to do this. It's like that all goes into, whatever that score is at the end of the day. Not just, like you said, a measure of how hard you worked. That's almost, as I don't know if that's possible to.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, like a lot of people like to just simplify it down to that. Whenever they see something on social media, it's easy for people to compare and make excuses and stuff. But it's like there's so much more variables. It's so much more complicated. the person just has different cards than you.
That's the
Like,
truth.
so why hate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Just like appreciate and be happy for that person who's doing that. There's so many freaking people in the world. There's like enough room for all of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
There's so many fucking people in the world. So like if you're stressing about how many you're competing against in the industry or whatever, like it's nothing in the grand scheme of things.
Right. You made a good point. You just got to look at your cards
Mm-hmm.
that you're dealt with and do the best you can with those. And that's what you got to find fulfillment in.
Bro, it's funny. I fucking love these podcasts because, you know, I may have said that shit, but like tonight I'm going to fucking forget that. And I'm going to be like looking at my engagement and be like, fuck me, dude.
Dude, I feel it. I feel that 100%. But it's good. Yeah, it's good. Like you said, sometimes you know it too. You know, like you'll say it, like you just said, but you won't. It's hard to always practice those things that you know.
Yeah.
You know, like you can write it down, journal it, make lists. You know,
Right.
but it's still in the moment when you're focused on. Your focus is slightly different. It's hard to bring back those lessons that you've picked up. You know.
I remind myself that it's a practice. Like everything that you want to be good at is practice. You must practice, which means you must repetitively do it over and over and over and over and over again. Otherwise, it's not ingrained within you.
Good point.
Learning as well, right? When you learn something, you can't just read something and then know it instantly. There's very few people who can do that. You should probably read it again and think about it again. Maybe think about it before you go to bed at night to make sure that you're further ingraining it in your memory, right? Every single time I wake up, I'm a new person. I start a new day with new anxiety. I totally forgot what I thought about the next day. Well, how do I want to make sure that I become the person I want to become? By remembering exactly what that one thing was that was so valuable to me yesterday, that will be valuable for me today. But I fucking forgot, right? So I just got to write it down, wake up, look at that whiteboard, remind myself, oh yeah, you know, we were all different. We were all dealt different cards. So let me just do the best I can with the ones I was dealt, and then continue on with the rest of the day doing that. So, yeah, just as I do meditation every day, just as I should continue to stretch every day, I realize that if you want to become a person in the future, if you have a vision for who you want to become in the future, you got to start doing all those actions like today. And then as you continue to repeat them, you slowly form yourself into that person. So if you want to be that person that did walk up to that girl, then when you see that girl sometime when you're out and you don't want to, maybe think about that when you're making that decision of whether or not, you know, you feel like it's worth it or not. Because it's not so much about you know, talking to that girl in that moment. It's more so like, do you want to become the person that would go up to that? Right.
And like you said, that takes practice.
It takes practice.
It takes practice. I think that's an important piece. Like it's so obvious, but I feel like that's easy to overlook. You know, it's one thing to say, oh, I know this. You know, I was told this. I know better. I know what I need to be doing. But then it's another thing to know it. You know, whether it's like you said, setting a reminder, putting it on your whiteboard, you know, so that you're very conscious of it and you're continually practicing it and continually analyzing yourself and assessing it, you know, or even when you go to sleep, like I would do that sometimes, like look at my notes and be like, think back on the day kind of and look at, like what in this situation was I going more toward or more away from in terms of my response to the situation? Was that taking me more toward or more away from the man I'm trying to be, the person I'm trying to become?
Yeah.
You know, so it's constant practice, self-assessment, practice, self-assessment. Yeah, it's a process, man.
It's a process.
Yeah.
It's a long process, but I guess, you know, with the way that you and I have been working, I think we can definitely say that we are, our little selves would be proud of us.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And you know what? That's crazy you said that, because this is the first time recently for me that I could really say that I've been proud of myself. You know, and it took it took me a while to say that, and I can't tell you all the reasons why. You know, I'm still looking at those, and I don't know, maybe that's a whole nother podcast type of thing.
Yeah, I know.
But man, like, I think, you know, maybe it came with just time and maturity and understanding that it is a process, that I don't have to be there, that you're never necessarily there, but you know, you're just in the process of working towards it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's good. You know, that's good enough. You know, you can't rush it.
Mm-hmm. Damn, bro, that was some good shit.
That was great shit.
Yeah, man, there's so many things that I want to ask you. There's so much more I gotta ask you, but we gotta cut it. We gotta cut it here soon. So.
Yeah, man. You're gonna have a lot to edit.
Nah,
Put through.
whatever.
Not bad.
It's worth it.
Okay. Hell yeah.
That's what the team's for, right?
Hey, seriously, that's the truth, man.
But 2 last quick questions though.
Yeah.
So if you were to die tomorrow, what's the first thing you would do today?
Man, just reach out to every person that I knew I loved, you know, and just not even to tell them like, yo, I'm going tomorrow, and stressing them out, but probably just to, you know, to give some energy, like good energy to those people, you know. And that, I think that would be do you ask the 2 things I would do?
One thing, but
one thing. Yeah, that'd be it.
That'd be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably like, you know, then probably something a lot more simple, like, you know, just have a moment where, like, you know, those moments in life that you just appreciate being present, you know, like whatever it is that recharges you. Like maybe it's sitting somewhere with a really beautiful view, you know, something simple, or, you know, maybe something kind of nostalgic, but like try to recreate one of those moments.
Yeah.
You know, that just makes you feel like, man, I'm really here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So probably between those 2 things.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
The presence is so powerful, bro.
Yeah.
Sure.
What about yourself?
For me, it would be just as you said. I would reach out to all my loved ones and just tell them that I love them. And then someone asked me the second thing I would do, and I said I'd get some ice cream.
I was, if you couldn't tell, when I was like having when I was talking to you about like, having one of those moments.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you know, kind of eating something good.
Eating so good. Yeah.
Just in the back of my head.
Yeah.
But nah, man, I feel that.
And then second question is, if you could have one superpower in the entire world, what would it be?
Man, that's a tough one. I've been asked it, like, I feel like you kind of get this asked throughout life here and there. You know, I don't know what it is about
random questions.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Man. I'm gonna listen, but while you talk, I'm gonna think a little bit too. What's your superpower?
To teleport.
Yeah.
Teleport anywhere, anytime.
Why teleport?
I think I realized that there's so much I want to do in life, and there's just not enough time.
I see.
I want to be here. I want to be there. I want to work here, but I also want to spend time with these people, you know. And I feel like it'd just be cool being able to teleport. I get to go over there and work with this person, and go over there and maybe work and meet this person, and then I'd be able to go back home here and you know, hang out with my friends and my loved ones at the same time, or not at the same time, but you know,
right? It's
within a much more closer span of time.
Yeah, man, I feel that. That's a good one, to get more time. I guess time control would be kind of broad, but that also gets messy and all. Yeah. And all the movies that do time control.
Yeah.
Man, if I had one superpower, when I was a kid, I always wanted to fly. I know that's simple, but like, man,
that's dope.
Yeah, just like, man, imagine you have a stressful day. You know, you just want to get away.
Yeah, dude.
Like, you know what? I'm out of here. That'd be it, bro.
I'm out of here.
Like, real talk.
That's sick.
Just to get some space for a minute. You know, come back.
Fuck this shit.
Like, yeah, like I don't need too many cheat codes for life, but just be able to escape every now and then.
Yeah.
You know, and then come back and be like, all right, we're good. You know.
Okay, then we're gonna fucking fly to McDonald's, get myself a burger.
Ooh.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's dope. Damn. You're making me want to go on more hikes and shit. And
yeah, it's beautiful out here too.
Yeah.
You know, like
San Diego's the place.
It's not too hot. It's not too humid. You know, Like there's hikes all along the coast
Mm-hmm.
because I'm all the way up, toward the ocean side.
Yeah.
And it's peaceful, man. And then you can get some calories out.
Yeah. Facts.
It's
Facts.
good. Yeah.
Right, bro. Well, thanks for jumping on the podcast, man. JustMerk, Merk Fitness. Where can we all find you?
Yeah, just Merk on YouTube, Merkle Fitness on Instagram, just Merk on TikTok, something like that. Type in Merk, it should hopefully pop up if you're fitness oriented.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for being on it, man. It was awesome. It was awesome. Hell yeah.
It was.
Yeah. So that's it, guys. Thank you guys for everything. Apple Podcasts, iTunes, YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe because it's the way that it helps. And yeah, meditate, overcome, transform, and transcend your limits.
I like that, man.
Peace, guys.
Peace.
Boop.